Hey, and welcome to the Watch Kaki channel where we bring you all the good and honest watch reviews. For today's watch review, we have a watch that came in all the way from Sweden, hence the Swedish way of saying hello, hey! The watch on review today is from the brand Alf Watch Company. I think this company was started about 2 to 3 years ago, and I'm holding in my hand the Norrsken, which is the first model to be launched by the brand. Let's go through some specs of the watch. Now the watch here has got a totally square case. It's 40mm by 40mm. If I were to fold down the leather strap, you will see that it's got no lugs, totally no lugs. It's what we call a square, or I think it's a TV case. Some people will call this a TV case. It's got a case thickness of about 11.3mm, and it has a 22mm lug width. It's also got a really big crown here. I think it measures about 7.5mm. Very grippy with the knurling on the crown, and it is not a screw down crown. This watch has an all stainless steel construction that is finished in both brushed and polished surfaces. It's also got an anti-reflective sapphire crystal in front. Powering the watch is a Miyota automatic movement. I think the caliber is called 8245, and I read that this caliber is used in many of 7 Fridays watches. The Miyota 8245 is a time-only movement, so it's got no date complication, but it does have this pretty unusual off-centered kind of seconds hand going on here, and I guess this gives the watch a special look to it. The Alf Norrsken comes in other color combinations, and the one sent for review is the one in white dial. I believe they also have one in blue dial as well as one in black dial. The white dial version of the Norrsken comes mounted on a brown leather strap that is crocodile printed, and it has a retail price of US dollars 299 with free international shipping. Let's talk about the design of this watch. Now, of course, the very first thing we are going to talk about is the squarish case of the Alf Norrsken. There are not too many squarish or rectangular watches out there. On hand, I can think of Cartier Santos, Tag Heuer Monaco, but I must say that when I look at this watch, I actually thought about 7 Friday because they got a similar type of TV case or squarish kind of design, whereby the overall case is square, but you got rounded edges. Alright, so it sort of softens the look of the square, and at the same time it makes the watch pretty unusual. Right, usually square watches tend to wear bigger than their actual size suggests, but Alf Norrsken has very cleverly avoided the problem by having no lugs to the watch case. That's right, there are no protruding lugs from the watch case. The watch strap is attached by hidden lugs behind the watch case. So this makes the watch a lot smaller than what the size suggests, makes it more wearable than a 40mm square case with protruding lugs. And you may have seen by now that the watch case has got this kind of ribbing along the sides of it. Alright, so I'm not too sure how this is done. It does look like it is machined. It's got this kind of ribbing that gives it a very special look to it. So the insides of the rib, the matte surface, leaving the outside of the ribbing to be polished, as with the bezel and other parts of the case. And to round off the design of the case construction, we've got a pretty big crown here. It's about 7.5mm in diameter, and this makes it very easy to grip or to wind the watch. The crown is also very nicely signed with the Alf logo. Let's zoom in just a bit to take a closer look at the Alf Norrsken's dial. The white dial version has got black markers, black logo and brand printed. It's got black pencil hands as well as a black printed sub-dial. Now, in the middle of the dial here is a recessed area where you see ribbings. Similar, I think, is to echo the ribbings at the side of the case. And then you've got the small minute markers pushed out all the way at the white chapter ring towards the edge of the case. Alright, so very useful because you still have the small minute markers on top of the 5-minute markers in the inner part of the dial. Well, actually, I'm not too sure if this kind of dial construction is considered a sandwich dial, because I can see that the black markers are of different levels from the white dial, but I can't be sure if they're using the sandwich style construction or is simply just stamped in. So in all, a very clean design with the white dial and black markers, and it gives it a very stormtrooper kind of color scheme. And I really like the fact that they've got this ribbing design that flows consistently from the center of the dial and onto the sides of the case. Let's take a look at the case back. Here you can see that the back plate is held down by 4 screws, and lasered engraved on the back plate are the brand, watch brand logo, and some information regarding water resistance, which is 50 meters, and the model name Norrsken, as well as the material used to make the case, stainless steel. Now let's spend some time to talk about the Alf watch logo. Now I really love this logo because it is simple and yet at the same time it is special. Now here you can see that this part here on the left is half of the letter A, and right in the middle we've got one line here which is the lowercase letter L, and at the right we have the letter F. So ALF, Alf watch, and here we have a very symmetrical logo. This is great. The white dial version of the Norrsken has lume hands. Let's switch off the lights and check out the lume. Right, this is not a dress watch, so I'm pretty impressed by the lume. Only the hands are lume in this one. You can see that they're shining pretty brightly. Let's do a size comparison between the Alf Norrsken and the good old Omega Speedmaster. Now I know that there are a lot of differences between these two watches in terms of design, but I want to show you the big difference between a square case on my left here and a round case on my right, and coupled with the differences such as lux versus no lux, square crystal versus round crystal, you really get to see a big difference in terms of size and styling. Although the Omega has a case size of 42 millimeters, it doesn't look much bigger than the Alf. In fact, it looks a bit smaller due to the fact that it's got a bezel and the fact that it's got a round crystal. The Alf, on the other hand, looks huge, even though it's got 41 millimeters case size, because it's got a squarish design, thereby it has a more real estate, so to speak. And also, the Omega here has got lux. The lug length is about 48 millimeters if I'm not wrong, and the Alf Norrsken has got no lux. So in terms of case thickness, you would never imagine that the Norrsken is actually much thinner than the Speedmaster. It's got a thickness of about 11.4 millimeters, and this one is just under 14 millimeters. But if you were to wear the watch, or you look at the watch this way, you would think that the Norrsken is thicker, mainly because it's got this kind of a slab side design. It's got no mid case, unlike the Speedmaster. It's got no mid case, floating bezel and crystal and so on and so forth. So this is like a slab side, thereby making it look much thicker than what it really is. Here's a reshot of the watch on my 6.8-inch wrist. That's about 17 centimeters for you. As you can see, the Norrsken is not a small watch due to the case design. Square designs tend to wear much bigger than what they really are, so I would say this is slightly on the bigger side of things. But if you take a look at the side here, when you take a look here, there are no lug gaps, simply because there are no lugs. So again, very clever design by the makers to design such a watch not to have any lugs, so that the wearer can wear it much more comfortably. Alright, the strap tapers down all the way to 16 millimeters at the buckle. Not a big fan of this design. I will talk more about it later on in the review. So the Alf Norrsken is a watch with plenty of potential. It's got lots of interesting design elements going on. If you take a look at it, it's got the square case, which itself is already unique. It's got a square crystal design, unlike watches where you got a square case but circular dial. And of course, you really need to mention the ribbings along the sides of the case. Alright, this really makes the watch very special, and you've got ribbings in the center of the dial to match the ribbings at the side of the case. Very smart. And the dial has got a very simple design, clean, easy to read, 2 pencil hands, stick markers along the minute track and hour track, and double markers for 12, 3, 6 and 9, and the off-center second hand, which all makes the watch special and interesting. So why did I say that the watch is full of potential? This is because I feel that the execution, the build of the watch is a case of almost there already, but not quite. Right, the ribbings on the casing as well as the ribbings on the dial, I feel that they could be better executed in the sense that there should be more texture going on to it. Alright, now it's very shallow at the moment and it feels like it's more or less stamped on, and if there's better machining done to it, it will feel more well made and more luxurious. I also had some issues with the supplied watch strap. Now don't get me wrong, the watch strap is of decent quality. It is about 3.5 millimeters thick throughout, and I really love the fact that it's got a black inner lining. This is really helpful because in the hot sunny weather we have here, if you were to wear a watch with a light colored inner lining, I think the watch strap is not going to last beyond 6 months. Now my issues with the strap lies in the design of the strap. Now if you take a look at it, it's got a 22 millimeters lug width, which flares out to about 26 millimeters. And then if I were to pull this back for a wider shot, now you will see that the watch strap actually tapers dramatically. From here, 26 millimeters, it goes down all the way to 16 millimeters at the buckle. Now, take a look. Now it does make the watch look a little bit top heavy. It's more or less like a pinhead. So perhaps a less dramatic tapering of the strap will look better for this watch design. Here I have a watch strap. It's a custom made strap from Camille Fournier. The lug is 22 millimeters and it tapers down to 18 millimeters at the buckle. So in terms of tapering, this is also quite dramatic. Now you take a look, if I were to put over it, immediately it feels less cartoonish. Granted, you can also have a flare here. You can go up to 24 or even 26, but you can leave the tapering down to about 20 or 18 millimeters and the watch will look better this way. So to sum up, the Alf Norrsken is yet another interesting watch from the newer micro brands. This one's got a unique design to it. It's got a square case and it's got these ribbings all around the watch case, and it's got a really legible dial. If only the watch strap and the construction, the build of the case were improved. Now, if these aspects were improved, I would say this is a cracking deal for the money, US dollars 299 with free shipping. So please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to come back next week because we have new videos uploaded every week. I'll see you next week. This is the Watch Kaki. I'm from Singapore. Bye bye. So this is yet another product from Sweden. We've got IKEA, we've got Volvo, and now we've got Alf Watch. Let's take a look at the case back. Now the case back has a black. I also saw, so what are all these ribbings for? As the advertisement says, ribbed for extra pleasure.